Onto our top story now. Government launched its 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence program this morning. This campaign officially kicks off tomorrow until the 10th of December and is an international effort to challenge violence against women and children. Let's now take a look at one of the campaigns, the Tavern Dialogues, which are held in areas with the highest incidence of GBV and femicide. For more on this, I'm joined by Ntimane, spokesperson for the National Liquor Traders Council. Lucky, thank you so much for your time. Now, it was quite evident when the quarterly crime statistics were released earlier this month that at the center of women and children is a fear of being violated and violence. What exactly is your campaign going to solve?
Thank you for the opportunity. So our campaign is really aimed at getting men to open up, to talk about issues that at the end of the day result in being causative factors towards issues of gender-based violence and ultimately femicide. So we have actually launched these in 3 provinces, namely the Eastern Cape, Gauteng, and KZN. And tomorrow we'll be launching these dialogues in the Western Cape, targeting 10 taverns in the 3 key hotspots in that province, which is the Delft, Mitchell's Plain, as well as Guguletu. So this is a program really that gets tavern owners to really take a lead in the fight against gender-based violence and really using the patrons to be the ambassadors in this fight.
And why exactly taverns? I mean, I'm very intrigued. We know that taverns have been, quite at the center of the agenda for quite some time now, especially over the past couple of months with them, being accused of being super spreaders during this pandemic as an example, and also alcohol-related crime being at the center of GBV.
So taverns are essentially social hubs where conversations in community and society takes place. And there is about 5 to 7 million people that frequent taverns on a monthly basis. So this is a captured audience that we felt that is necessary to be able to carry on this message. And we are grateful to Distel under the leadership of Wim Berman as well as Richard Rushton that have come on board really to support the liquor traders in this very important initiative. So for us, we don't see this as really a 16-day type of thing that we need to focus on, but 365 days, because we know that taverns is a place where people enjoy their liquor responsibly over a 365-day period. So for us, even though we are part of the 16-day of activism, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond as a matter of us being committed as members of society and community to make sure that we really carry the message of gender-based violence fully into communities and society in which we operate our businesses in.
Now, you say that these taverns are places or spaces where people go and drink responsibly over the next 365 days. I mean, I'd beg to differ because we know that alcohol has been attributed as one of those leading causes in gender-based violence incidences. How exactly are you going to address these issues at taverns, knowing and obviously understanding, just some of the behavior that we've seen over the past couple of weeks that are happening in taverns? How is this engagement and dialogue going to happen? Because we are dealing with a very serious matter here.
It's a fair question, and I can safely say that we have actually implemented safety dialogues without any hitches. And actually, most taverns are calling on us to go and implement these dialogues beyond the 4 provinces that we have identified. So we see these taverns as providing an opportunity under which real conversations can take place. I don't think it does help, to really focus on the negatives that you have alluded to, which we acknowledge they do happen, but those are just, a minor incidents that we have identified, and we have really dealt with them, through our relationship with SAPS, with the liquor boards in various provinces, to make sure that those that are not complying with COVID-19 basic regulations are really dealt with, and we are comfortable with the relationship that we have with those key stakeholders, because they have really dealt with those non-compliant taverns, as it were, and all liquor traders, as we might have seen in Sentin, that those that were found to be out of line were actually top-notch outlets in the on-premise space. But we remain confident that, as we continue, to engage with men in these taverns, we will be starting to see results coming soon in this important behavioral change initiative that we've undertaken through the support of this DStv.
Now, you speak of a behavioral, attitude that's changing and people having a different mindset to GBV. What kind of conversation will you be having with these patrons that go to these taverns. And I'm asking you that because it's important that we get to understand what kind of mind shift we are trying to get to when we are addressing these patrons, especially in a liquor-induced environment, if I may say.
Okay. So even though the Tavern Dialogues take place at taverns, as is self-explanatory, the patrons that partake or undergo these Tavern Dialogues do not consume liquor at these dialogues. The setting is such that it allows for the experts, in this case, Kulumandoda and Rise Up Against Gender-Based Violence, to really interact with men, get to the root of causal factors that lead ultimately to gender-based violence and femicide. And we get men to open up, to say it's not enough for men, to keep quiet, but they must speak up, they must raise their issues so that they could be addressed. And I'm not an expert in gender-based violence space, but I am a proponent of its success in the tavern space that I've seen in Orange Farm, in KZN, and in Eastern Cape. To say, when we talk to men in the tavern space, we are able then to create an atmosphere of change. We're setting up tavern forums across all the taverns that we go to. These tavern forums carry the messaging of gender-based violence beyond just the tavern dialogue. So what you're having is you have a tavern owner who then becomes the chairperson of the tavern forum that takes place in this tavern, so that the messaging doesn't just end on us having to go and implement a tavern dialogue, but it carries on, because taverns are a social setting and social hubs. The message of gender-based violence then continues to trickle down, not just to those that have attended this dialogue, but to any new patron that comes into the tavern, because when they get into a tavern, the conversation then starts to continue around issues of gender-based violence. You're getting men opening up about issues that eat them up, and then we are able then to find solutions together. There is no silver bullet about this, but we need to keep on talking so that ultimately we are then able to find common ground where issues of gender-based violence can be safely addressed in a safe environment, which in this case, we are saying that a tavern is a safe environment to have this type of conversation.
All right, Lucky, thank you so much for your time. That's where we have to leave it for this afternoon. Lucky Ntimane, spokesperson there for the National Liquor Traders Council.